Okay, first things first, disclaimer. This video will not turn you into a challenger player. However, I'm offering you a chance. Take the knowledge I'm about to give you, apply the correct mindset which will result in you reaching your potential, which could technically be challenger, or you can click away, continue with the endless loop of my team sucks, ranked is rigged against me, I'm never the problem, etc, etc. If you're not sure who I am, my name is Coach Leo. I am an ex-pro player who competed at the highest level, which was Worlds multiple times, as well as being a multi-season challenger player in solo queue. For nearly 2 years, I've spent 2,000 plus hours coaching individuals, with most climbing at least 1 or 2 divisions and a majority climbing multiple ranked tiers. Check links down below if you're interested. With all that in mind, I believe this makes me one of the most qualified people to speak on this topic. So let me explain the mindset that will change the way you view improvement and climbing forever. Part 1, the mindset. The number one problem we all have is putting more emphasis on the outcome of a game, winning or losing, instead of the process, playing to get better. This outcome dependent thinking causes us to, in an effort to prevent losing, make emotionally influenced decisions such as forcing plays, compensating for our team inting, and so on. So, how do we avoid this and make objective decisions with the emphasis being on our improvement? What I want you to do is conceptualize each game as if it were a test, where throughout the course of the game, you'll be given questions, let's say on average 30. These questions will come in the form of information, which you will have to answer with decision making, macro, and execution, micro. The amount of questions you get correct is your skill level, and the game is testing that, which is why the ranked system works. This technically means you can have a high score of 26 out of 30 in a losing game, or a low score of 15 out of 30 in a winning game. This idea of each game being a test removes a majority of the emotional influences we feel, letting us make more objective decisions. When we apply this mentality over a large sample size of games, you will naturally start winning games you would have lost in the past. Even in a game that is completely lost at 15 minutes, there will still be a few questions that we could have answered correctly. So take the small improvement and move on. The reason this mindset is so OP is because you will start focusing on your own decisions and be accountable for them, leading to your improvement. Now that we have stopped thinking about wins or losses, we barely even check our own rank, and before you know it, you would have ranked up 3 divisions. I know you may be thinking, we are only human, we're not robots, and League of Legends is a very frustrating game. And to that, I would say you are completely correct. Trust me, I am definitely not immune to tilting, which is why you should not queue up if you cannot apply the test mindset. If you're tilted, take a break. If you are someone who plays a lot, play on a Smurf that is in a similar rank. A fascinating side note I have discovered while coaching is that many players, Smurfs, outrank their mains. Why do we think that is? Because there is no attachment to winning or losing on a Smurf. You're making objective decisions naturally. Team is flaming you, who cares? It's your Smurf. Part 2. Your test scores dictate your skill level. So, how does this relate to why a challenger player would barely lose any games until around Diamond? When I was first going pro, a question I would ask myself after a lost game where I thought I played well was, would Canyon, the best jungler in the world at the time, have won this game? If my answer was yes, I would conceptualize this in the form of the test. I probably answered 24 out of 30 questions correctly, whereas Canyon would have answered 29 out of 30, a high enough score to win the game. Although I was still focused on winning or losing, which at the time was wrong, you can see how you can apply this to yourself, whatever your rank is. The difference between you in your gold game and a challenger player in your gold game is that he is answering 29 out of 30 questions correct every single game. Now, I'm not saying that you will or even need to be able to score 30 out of 30 every single game, relative to your skill level in your rank. The point I'm trying to make is that your average score over a large sample size dictates your rank. If you score high enough consistently, you will climb 100%. And as you climb, the test then becomes harder. Okay, so how do we even know the game is giving us a question at a specific moment so that we can improve for next time? Good question. Let's go over 2 examples. The first being a macro decision based on the information the game is giving us. For this example, we are taking a look at a silver student's VOD that I coached today. The game gives us our first question in the form of Warwick ganking mid and having red buff. This means he sells all 3 of his blue side camps up. We've just finished the red before Warwick has even started on one of his blue side camps, meaning once we finish off the Krugs, we should use this level and massive tempo advantage to punish the Warwick by finding him on either his blue or Gromp and killing him. The Bel'Veth does not identify this advantage and ends up settling for the Scuttle Crab, resulting in a failed answer to the game's test. Now, let's look at another type of question we will be given based on our micro and how we execute a play mechanically. In the example clip taken from my stream, we can see that this top gank looks fairly easy. Yorick is low and pushed up. However, had I not played it the way that I did by walking up to Q first and holding my E and W, there is a chance that this is mis-executed and we end up having to use flash and chase into the Echo's counter gank. The game is simply testing my ability to execute a play mechanically. Are you pathing to cut off Yorick correctly? Are you holding your dash ability until you need to use it? Are you holding your W until you can guarantee the damage with your Q knockup? Are you considering Yorick flash? It's true in this clip, I may have still killed him by sniping him with a max range W, but this is about habits. If you verse a better player, Yorick can flash it and you may chase into Echo and it can end in disaster. Part 3. The enemy are just as boosted as your team. I empathize with anyone struggling with a streak of unlucky teams. We've all been there. However, what you must realize is that the enemy team are just as boosted as your team. Once you have adopted this mindset, you'll realize that even in a losing game, there are plenty of opportunities where the enemies will make mistakes. The important factor here is that you stayed composed. You were not influenced by your team or own emotions, and you simply were answering the game's questions. If you did this successfully, you would be strong enough to punish the enemy once they make a mistake and throw, which in a majority of games, especially in low elos, will happen. And if the enemy plays perfectly, which is unlikely, and you lose, it's okay to take what you can from the game, brush it off, and move on to the next. A few auto-lose games are just a drop in the ocean in the grand scheme of things. However, in many cases, there are going to be games that you could have won with this mentality. And those games that you're supposed to lose that you actually win can stack up over time, which can contribute massively again to your win rate and rank.